Imagine being fined $800,000, equivalent to over £600,000 every week for refusing to turn up to work. That's the reality for NFL linebacker Haason Reddick, who's in a contract dispute with his new club, the New York Jets. Andew Beaton of the Wall Street Journal told me how this bizarre situation has come about.
So this offseason, the Jets made a big acquisition when they traded for star pass rusher Haason Reddick. And he was supposed to be this dynamo who would help their defense just pummel opposing quarterbacks because that's what he does best. Over the past 2 seasons, he had 27 sacks, which tied for third most in the entire NFL over that span. The problem is, after his introductory press conference, he hasn't showed up for work. Reddick has been seeking a new contract. And when he hasn't gotten that, he's thought about requesting a trade. And in all this time, he has accumulated millions of dollars in fines, lost millions of more dollars in game checks. And it's just kind of this bizarre and highly unusual standoff between a team and a player where the Jets season is underway. They lost on Monday night to the Buffalo Bills, dropping them to 2-4. All the while, one of the players who's supposed to be one of the team's linchpins simply isn't playing for them.
So how have the Jets and Reddick found themselves in this mess? Why didn't their new linebacker just join the club, sign a contract, and start playing?
Yeah, so he's under contract for about $14 million to play for the Jets, but only for this year. There's nothing beyond this year. And so what's happening right now is that he wants a deal that would pay him probably both more money this year and also secure guaranteed money in the future. Whereas the Jets seemingly have wanted him to play out this year's contract. But the result of his standoff means that with each week that he doesn't show up to work, he's missing a game check. So he's giving away more and more of that $14 million for every week he doesn't play. And beyond just giving away the money that he's owed based on his current contract, he's also accumulated millions of dollars of NFL mandated fines, because that's what happens when you don't show up for the preseason and for the training camp ahead of the season. So even if they do come to a resolution on a new contract that makes both sides happy, he's going to still owe millions of dollars in fines to the NFL, and those can't be waived. And we're kind of approaching this absolutely crazy situation here where between those fines and him giving away the money earned on his contract, he's approaching a situation where he could essentially be playing for free this season. It's also reached the point that it'll be difficult for him to make this a financial net positive for him, because sometimes when players hold out, they hold out for a bit and maybe accumulate a few fines or something during the preseason, but ultimately they get a bigger contract, so it ends up being a win for them. But in this case, it has dragged on for so long and he's forfeited so much money in terms of the preseason fines and now his game checks. In total, it's approaching about $10 million at this point between the fines and the game checks, that it's kind of hard to imagine a situation where this ends up being a winning play for him.
Despite their poor start to the season, the Jets have Super Bowl aspirations. So what's the impact of having a potential star of their team just down tools and refuse to play?
Logic says that at some point he should come back and that the Jets will want him to come back because he can be such a valuable piece. And the bigger context here is that this is a Jets team that is all in on trying to win this season. Even though they only have a 2-4 record, this is a team that traded for star quarterback Aaron Rodgers last year. And he missed most of the season with an Achilles tear. And he comes back this season, and it's been a rough start. But this team is so all in on winning this year that just today, they have agreed on a deal to acquire star wide receiver Devonte Adams, who was Aaron Rodgers' trusty weapon back when they were in Green Bay together.
So what does the signing of Devonte Adams mean for the Haason Reddick situation? And what does it show about the Jets' aspirations?
I think it shows that this Jets team is all in on winning. And whether that results in either a contract with Reddick to get him in the building as quickly as possible, or whether that is trading Reddick away so this headache is gone, it could really cut either way, because with acquiring Adams, they're also absorbing a lot of money that they owe Adams. So on the one hand, they should want Reddick in the building because this is a team that wants to win and win now. On the other hand, they might want to just absolve themselves of this headache and absolve themselves of this financial obligation, while some other team might be interested in Reddick.
As Andrew explains in the Wall Street Journal, the situation that's unfolding is an unfamiliar one for the NFL in recent times.
In the last few years, this situation is rather unprecedented because there have been many cases of players holding out. But with the latest collective bargaining agreement between the players' union and the league, those fines have become mandatory, so they have to get paid. In the past, what would often happen is that these fines would accumulate, but then once the team and the player reached a deal, those fines would be waived. And so they were kind of a toothless enforcement mechanism to prevent holdouts. But now those fines are mandatory, so he has to pay them when he comes back and plays. And so there are other situations, though, further in the past, where, for example, in 2018, Pittsburgh Steelers running back Le'Veon Bell sat out the entire season in a dispute with the team. And the Jets are fully aware of how a player, after they sit out for a long period of time, when they come back, they might not look exactly like themselves, because after Le'Veon Bell sat out for that entire season, the Jets were the team that signed him. They gave him a giant contract to come play for the Jets after he sat out that year with the Steelers. And you know what? Le'Veon Bell kind of stunk. It was such a disaster with the Jets that barely into his second season with the team, the Jets just outright cut him and they released him. And it was just sort of a giant financial boondoggle for the team.
So how does this unsatisfactory situation for both parties come to a satisfactory end?
Yeah, so the two options are he either comes to a deal with the Jets. He was sacked by his old agency because of the way he's handled the dispute. And now he has a new agent who said yesterday that he's trying to resolve the dispute and looks forward to being a Jet for a long time. But there's also new rumors today that the Jets have also told him, go seek a trade and find a trade with another team. And the thing is, no matter how ugly and bizarre this has gotten, star pass rushers are extraordinarily valuable in the NFL. So whether it's for the Jets or someone else, someone will want Haason Reddick to play for them this season. And so it's really tough to imagine him sitting out the entire year. And so I'd expect to see him back on the field this year. The only question is if that's in a Jets uniform or if they just unload him and trade him somewhere else.